This is a new VN. Like, I think it's only about a week or two old. And this is the 0.0.1 update. And already I'm blown away by the snow effects, this effect. The art looks fucking great. Apparently it's a horror set in the Arctic. So that's fucking cool. Let's start. Okay, I need to get in the mindset of this. The wolf couldn't see anything through the blizzard. Beyond the windshield was just a thick flurry of white. But then, he didn't have a destination in mind anyway, just away from there. He had one hand pressed tightly to his abdomen, trying to compress the wound there. The other gripped the steering wheel of the snow truck tightly. A mix of adrenaline and the extreme cold disguised the pain. He was surprised he managed to get the snow truck running and driving away from that madness. His eyes glanced at the glove compartment. Maybe he could just throw it out into the snow, drive away from this. Seriously, after all that, you're going to fucking run over to save her own skin? Wolf ignored him. His companions in the passenger seat engaging. It was pointless. His ears pinned back and fangs bared, partly from anger, but mostly from the pain in his belly. Yet shame bubbled within him. How could he think of breaking his promise? Not surprised. To be fair, it's all you ever do. Again, the wolf didn't respond. A flash of agony shot through him, reminding him of his grave wound. Grimaced and cried out, but his cry was followed by an awful sputtering sound. The sputtering continued until the engine fell silent, the vibration of the truck ceasing. Wolf sat there, staring at the dashboard in a mix of bewilderment and accusation, as if he could shame the machine into starting up again. He glanced at the fuel gauge. Empty. How? How could he have overlooked it? His departure had been hurried. They'd not had the luxury of properly preparing. After an awkward pause, the wolf threw a frustrated tantrum, cursing and slamming his fist against the wheel, kicking the footwell and screaming. This isn't helping, you know. Wolf only barely resisted a furious snarl of the other figure. Ran in his anger, ordered to slump forward, head against the wheel and eyes closed. Tears rolled down his muzzle. The journey lasted maybe 5 minutes at most. Couldn't be more than a few hundred meters from that place. All that effort and sacrifice just to fail within walking distance. There's a first aid kit in the back. You look like you need it. The boy stepped back out of his misery. His eyes flicked open, now aware of just how tired he was. How the steering wheel of this utilitarian Trek might as well have been the fluffiest pillow ever. As his awareness flowed back, the stench of iron in the cabin made him gag. He knew the source, brought his trembling palm to his face. Though the redness was hard to make out against the black fabric of his glove, the soap glistening told him it was saturated with his blood. First he felt his stomach lurch. Then he realized he wasn't really feeling much pain, at least not as much as he'd expect to feel from such a wound. All the tension and fury he felt started to drift off. His wet nose sniffed, and the blood scent, his own, didn't register so strongly with him. In fact, everything felt distant, like he was drunk. God, did he know what drunkenness felt like? He reached into the glove box, his trembling hand brushing that cursed thing in the grass the flare had always given. Regardless of anything else, he needed to warn them, to tell them that he'd failed. Maybe they'd come for him. Wolf reached his trembling, blood-soaked paw to the door, and after a brief pause, opened it. He stumbled out of the cabin, not bothering to close it after him. Something told him there's no point. Bracing himself against the side, he staggered through the knee-high snow, still keeping the pressure on his wound, though now it was more of a token act. Couldn't see more than a feet or so. in any direction. Instead, he placed a paw against the truck's side, using it to guide him to the back. Upon reaching the rear doors, he had to pause for a moment. The howl of the blizzard saturated his mind, drowning out his thoughts. He brought the flare up, preparing to activate it. And then, just like that, his weak, trembling hand let it slip from his grasp. Buffeting wind and snow instantly carried out of his field of vision. Fuck! No! Stone dropping to his knees, glanced around frantically as he dug at the snow for the flare. Without the other had no way of knowing his status. Pawed desperately at the thick snow, feeling his ability to move wane as the cold cut through his jacket and trousers and sucked the warmth of his already weakened body. Gazed at the snow illuminated by the rear headlights of the snow truck. He slowed and stopped, breathing heavily as his blood-soaked hands carved crimson swaths in the snow. Stared at the crimson streaks, realized he was never going to find the flare. No! Rebecca said like loose, primal, fearful, lupin howl of rage and despair at the unceasing blizzard, covering the stair to the inky blackness of the city, penetrated by the pale taillights. It didn't stretch more than a few meters into the blizzard. He probably tried to return the way he came, but having expunged his rage and frustration, nothing remained. Only emptiness. He couldn't have made the journey back even if he wanted to. He turned, half crawling, toward the rear doors of the truck and the only shelter around. The cold barely registered anymore. It felt like his legs were on autopilot. Pawed clumsily for the door handles. He missed them several times, his vision feeling oddly blurred. So the cold, snow buffeting his face. Finally, his paws reached the handles and gripped him, yanking them open. The car compartment was almost entirely empty, but he had not had time to stock it. He turned to gaze back where he'd come from. Nothing visible beyond a few feet in the darkness and the thick blizzard. He scanned for the glowing crimson of the return fare, but there was nothing. They had agreed to wait for 2 hours before popping flares to guide him back. Far too long. Far too late. With Herculean effort, he hauled himself up out of the snow, mostly dragging his body inside the car compartment. Turned, reaching for the doors once again and pulling them shut. Just like that, the blizzard dropped from an ear-shattering howl to a dull roar. As the wolf regained his bearings, the pain in his belly made him cry out, bringing tears to his eyes. His legs faltered, leaving him stumbling back. Back of his legs hit a box on the floor and he toppled. The impact knocked out any remaining breath out of him and left him paralyzed. His pained cry came out as a strangled gargle. He closed his eyes as pain flooded him. He wanted to scream in pain, but he simply didn't have the breath or the energy to do so. What was this? Was this the end? Alone in the back of a snow utility vehicle in the remotest place on Earth, bleeding out. Alone. So utterly alone. Pain dissipated, concentrating around his wound, though. Even that didn't hurt so much anymore. He didn't know how long he lay there. Thoughts of his ordeal were background noise, like the snow, the sound of the blizzard outside. More tears rolled idly down his cheeks. He placed their trust in him. With last face, he sobbed, begging him to at least try. Connor, I need you to say the words. He struggled to open his eyes again. All he wanted to do was to sleep. Maybe to wake up safe and sound, but at this point he didn't care much about that anymore. I need to hear you say it, Connor. What you should have said to me and Mum before you abandoned us. Usual smug snidiness of his companion's absent, replaced with bitterness. Connor couldn't feel it. The tears ran freely down the sides of his face into his hair. He couldn't meet his eyes. Feel that sad yet accusing gaze burning into him. That he would use such a thing against him at this, his vital moment, was of no surprise, but it still hurt. Connor, please. Dying Wolf had no more anger left. Images of them, his brother, his mother, created an ache so deep, so all-encompassing that what little agony he could still feel in his wound seemed trivial. Closed his eyes again. The little strength he had left abandoned him as he receded, his consciousness a flickering light in the encroaching dark. His final words, his final thoughts, were drenched in a deep, biting sense of regret. I'm so sorry. Took a raspy, shallow breath. His entire body went limp. The grimace of misery and pain slowly easing as his body and mind shut down. Garrett. Jesus Christ, okay. I don't know what to fucking feel right now. Holy fucking shit. That was absolutely fucking depressing. And I made the fucking recording area too small. God damn it. Holy fuck. This is already good. This has already got me invested, and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. Clutching the 3 packs of cigarettes, I ambled over the counter while the bored-looking bold cashier watched me. I slapped the 3 packs of cigarettes onto the counter. Det out Duville, what? Oh, okay. I gave him a blank look. I didn't speak Norwegian, which is what I assumed he just spoken. Rolled his eyes, likely dealing with non-speakers on a frequent basis. Will that be all? He enunciated clearly in his show irritation as though I were deaf. Stifling the urge to tell him to stick his attitude, I gave him a nod. Told me the cost. My ear twitched. Much cheaper than Britain. Oh, for British, okay. Maybe another couple packs. Attempted to grab an armful, give him how cheap tobacco was here, and also maybe to fuck with him a bit, but I decided against it. I didn't want to take the piss. Or have him kick me out, smokeless. What the fuck? Pulled a wad of Norwegian kroner out of my pocket and rifled through them before separating out a few crisp notes and placing them before the cashier. Cheers, pal. That sucked. That was terrible. I don't give a shit. Gave him a brief smile and nod, but he didn't return it. Simply handed me my change. Slipped them in my pocket before returning awkwardly on my large backpack, making order to maneuver through the slightly cramped store. Yeah, this was written by a Brit. You don't spell maneuver that way in America, let me tell you what. Hefting my pack, I turned carefully to avoid slipping the tightly packed shells of their contents with my backpack, marched to the door. Pulled my open pack of smokes from my pocket, fumbling for my lighter in the other pocket. My prized possession, really? Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Even before I started smoking, this is the only thing I have of Granddad. An Ellison Sports Elite. He used it in the Second World War, told me it never once failed to light. So this is Earth at Furries instead, okay. Using my lips, I pull a smoke from the pack, stuffing it back in my pocket as I bring out my lighter, shielding it using my other hand from the frigid wind. Immediately it called, until my smoke started to glow and I inhaled. The welcome calming rush of nicotine floods into me, as well as the fucking addiction. Congratulations, fucker, you're gonna die young. Of lung cancer. After a full breath, I flicked the lighter closed, tilted my head back, and after a moment, exhale. Smoke mixes with the sub-zero wind and turns into a billowing cloud, hot breath and fumes mixing frigid air. That's fucking pretty, actually, wow. At this time of year, long year bien could be pretty much summarized as dark and cold. My boots crunched the snow, I realized that for all these Scots. Oh, he's Scottish. Okay, I can't do a Scottish accent. Fuck. Like 200 butter weather, this place was truly something else. And yet I had to admit, solemn cashier notwithstanding, I liked it. I liked the cold, the snow, the quiet. Only a couple thousand people lived here, and yet it didn't come across as a ghost town. Just peaceful. Not like Glasgow, oh my god. Fucking hell. I was fond of my hometown, but it could also be a madhouse at all times of the day. It was the only place I knew that had a McDonald's and needed bouncers to nutters to come out at night. Oh yes, I've heard some horror stories about Scotland, like in that oof. Show my hands in my pockets to keep the smoke set between my lips, drawing on it occasionally. Manipulating a cigar with my thick gloves is pretty hard, and the air is far too cold to be without gloves. Yes, from Mom. She bought me my ensemble of gear, spending a fortune on top of the gifts she'd thrown at this expedition. Top of the money, whatever, I don't care. Meeting spot was just up the road, maybe a 10-minute walk. For all the thick, warm gear, I was still feeling the chill. Longyearbyen, the largest settlement on Svalbard, a Norwegian archipelago near the Arctic. The northernmost settlement on Earth. On the other side of town, on the other side of the road, walking further into town, a pair of men were chatting Norwegian. They both had rifles slung about their shoulders. Pretty crazy feature of Svalbard is that residents are required to have firearms when they leave the settlement of the wilderness for protection from polar bears. Oh, that's fucking insane, wow. Although they can't carry loaded firearms within the settlement itself, it's still odd to me to see guns being carried in the open. Yeah, because they're illegal in Britain and Scotland for a retarded reason that I fucking despise. 2A rights, man. 2A all the way. They glance over me and I avert my gaze. I hear mumbling in a language I don't understand, likely Norwegian. I probably look like a tourist or something. Tug my dark fringe down a little, fortunately left eyes on the opposite side of them. Somewhere right outside the cafe, my smoke is almost finished. I glance inside the window, trying to see if anyone's there. It's deserted apart from a single solitary figure. A possum guy. Ooh, a possum. Is it gray? Sitting by himself at a table with a cup in front of him. Seems to be absorbed in a book. No idea if he's local or not, but given this where I'm supposed to meet, and the lack of anyone else, I figure it's a good bet he might be here for the same reason I am. Guess it's good it's just the one guy. If I stumbled upon a whole group, I might have lost my nerve at so many new faces. With a final draw on my smoke, I snub it out in a bin and I mix a bit of the snow at the end to ensure it's properly doused, then push the door open. Ooh, fancy transitions. The coziness of the place hits me immediately, like I just stepped into a warm bath. Despite the late hour, the place looks still open. Chairs are neatly set against clean tables, a single staff member behind the counter bustling away. Apart from the generic background music these places tend to play, it's totally quiet. Possum doesn't react to my entrance, even though the guy behind the counter gives me a smile and nod. He must be really into that book. Oh, trust me. Trust me, buddy, when you're into a book, you're into a book. You don't fucking get out that easy. Midway over toward this table, when I ride my shadow passes over him. Oh! Oh, this is scary. Oh. Oh, shit. I just saw him thinking I just saw your fucking brother die, I'm pretty sure. Well, I read it. Fucking Christ. Good grief. Hey? He jumps, glancing up at me. He must have really been embarrassed. Wait. Was that me? It must be. Hi. Jumps at me, he glancing up at me. He must have really been engrossed, but when his eyes meet mine, instead of smiling, it looks like I just pulled a gun on him. Hi? Swallow hard. I was used to odd looks and awkward first impressions on account of my eye. I wasn't used to people looking like I was brandishing a butcher knife. Are you here for the Sylvia? Gives me a wide-eyed stare right from over, relaxing. Oh yeah, sorry, you just surprised me is all. He's actually kind of cute, not gonna lie. Drew to a seat opposite him at the table, and I gratefully slipped my pack off. Sat on the floor by the chair and Sat down, sighing as I did. Where'd you travel from? Closed his book and stuck it below the table and your pack sitting by him. Scotland. Still not shaking off the journey. 20 goddamn hours. Vancouver, 30 hours. Oh, he's a Canadian. Cool. Canadian possum. Gives me a cheeky grin. Wow, this guy's giving me whiplash from don't kill me to assassin seconds. I'm Stefan Golubev. I'm pleased to meet you. Stand in hand, I yanked it off the glove before accepting it. Got it read, likewise. Want a coffee? It's really good here. Easily one of the best I've had. Oh, sure. Turned around and waved at the barista. Same again, please. Barista gave a thumbs up and started prepping a coffee. Turns back to me with an excited grin. It's honestly amazing, none of that Robusta crap. Aye? You want to hope it was an interesting look. I know fuck all about coffee. I'm more of a tea person, to be honest, really. Interesting. A Scottish person into tea, imagine that. But I figured it'd be easier to just go with it. Yeah, which is a pity. Longyearbyen is pretty dull and cold. The tail's gonna freeze off. Oh no, I like the cold. Wish I had more time to sightsee. Each their own. Gazing with his big, excited eyes. I admit he did have a somewhat infectious smile. Although he didn't speak, instead watching me expectantly. I remembered the book he'd been reading when I entered, the one he'd been so engrossed in. So, what were you reading? Oh, this. Please be something good. Don't make me lose interest in you. He reaches beside him and pulls the book out, which now I can see properly is a very battered paperback. It's Genetic Lottery by Rupert Gadala. Ever heard of it? Shake my head, glad he was filling up for the silence. It's about how so many species ended up gaining sentience all roughly around the same area, independently and across the globe. You ever hear about the Mosaic event? It was when... He didn't even give me time to answer, so my jaw just hung slightly open while I tried to maintain eye contact and nod. I guess he's enthusiastic. Whoa, okay. Very enthusiastic. Christ on a bike. Where is he gonna stop? Did this get otherworldly? I make no effort at all to hide my slack jaw and staring gaze. Doesn't care. Or at least doesn't notice. I am moved him packing my cigarettes, looking for an opening to take a smoke break while we start talking about the Rothschilds. Jumped as the door opened, inviting a burst of icy air. Oh, okay. Turned to look, seeing a pair of young Caprine women shuffling through the door. Third figure, a Lapine guy, fell making a loud brrr as he entered. Oh, he's gay. He's gay. Thank Christ, some warmth. All three looked familiar in a way I couldn't quite put my finger on. Especially the hair guy. I swear I'd seen him before. The Caprine girl with the blue jacket stamped her feet to dislodge the snow in her boots while the one with the beanie scanned the room before locking eyes with me. Cringed at the unblinking gaze, like she was reading my mind or something. My hand automatically moved to my fringe, pulling my dark hair to ensure it obscured my left eye. Companion also glanced around but responding us. She gave a warm grin and happily waved. Just as the three arrived at our table, the barista swooped in to place my coffee before me. Giving them grateful smiles, the three new arrivals pulled up chairs to sit around our table. Oh, can I get you guys anything? Barista spoke perfect English, albeit with a Norwegian accent. At least I thought so. I was useless at recognizing specific accents that weren't from the UK. Oh, a latte would be nice, Tabby? The girl last in the blue jacket spoke with an American accent again. I'm not sure where precisely, but big enough I can't place it. The younger girl had her shoulders hunched and her hands in her pockets. She gave a non-committal shrug. I've had 2 lattes, please, thank you. May want a cappuccino, would you? Oh, okay. Another Irish boy. Okay, I don't... Ugh. I heard a clear bit Irish accent as he tugged off his gloves and rubbed his hands, blowing them into the warmth. Barista moved off to make them their drinks. Well, I take it you two are here for the Sylvia? Blue-jacketed girl smiled, leaned forward and hugging herself to warm up. Immediately, the beanie-wearing girl pulls out her phone and focuses on it, ignoring the rest of us. Oh, great. Oh, great. We're dealing with a fucking Zoomer. Yeah. I'll here for Sylvia. Sylvia, I'm Garrett. Garrett Reid. I'm Stefan Gobelette. Pleased to meet you. Lapine guy sat next to me, drawing close from his arms for warmth. Madam Marsh, pleased to meet you. Give me a grin in a small way before going back to one into his hands. Nice to meet you, fellas. I'm Gail Wentwars, and this chatty social butterfly is my sister Tabby. Want to introduce yourself? Your sister just scowled and muttered without looking up from her phone. Hi. Me and Stefan exchanged a look, but Gail just laughed. She takes time to work to people. No shit. I thought, judging by the way she was thumbing the screen, she was scrolling something continuously. Probably some social media shite like Barker. God, I can be such an old fart sometimes. I fucking feel that. Fuck social media, that's all I gotta say. Sylvia's this Hayden forgot to bring air warmers. He complained, taking the station in his hands and rubbing them, presumably to get some warmth into them. What do you expect this far north? Don't you have a hood? Gil smiles and chuckles and spurts, so she did rub her own ears a bit. Yeah. Added. Lapines were always really finicky about touching or covering their ears. Guess it made sense with such sensitive hearing. Almost like me, it's sensitive hearing, but nowhere near as good as Lapines. And even though we didn't really like stuff covering areas where we could help it, it's uncomfortable, not quite as bad as being underwater, but similar in sensation. Continuous rubbing of the fabric of a hood could feel deafening. Most headwear, like Tabby's, had holes for ears, which is fine, but in freezing weather like this, leaving your ears exposed to the windshield is a great way to get frostnip. You guys know each other? Motion between Gale and Aaron. Oh no, we met an hour ago. Decided to stick together as we're all going together anyway. So, what do you guys do? Narrated at me and Stefan. I decided to get my introduction in first before Stefan gets started. Oh, I'm a Sparky, nothing interesting. I got a bunch of blank looks, raised eyebrows, I added. Electrician. Oh right, is that where you're from? Just a nickname we used. I'm used to calling it that, and I forget how it must sound. Gave a small laugh, cringing inwards at the four sets of eyes now set in me. I don't realize how my paw tugged at my fringe, trying to cover my eye. Sounds cool. You like the guy people call to fix their fuse box. Pretty much, sometimes on industrial sites, but mostly homes. What happened to your eye? I froze. Tabby had stopped fiddling with her phone for a moment to gaze me directly in the eye, look of morbid curiosity in her face. Tabby, there's a man. If people explain stuff like that. My stomach clenched and simply tugging on my fringe. Had she seen through or quickly so my friend was behind my left eye? Judging from Aaron and Stefan's reactions, they clearly been thinking the same thing. They just evidently have more tact. Why not? I'm just curious. I'm just Trot, I could see everyone else staring at me with even more rapt attention. Gail offered a chagrined look. You don't have to explain anything. No, it's fine. It's not like there's much to say, Holy shit! Had an accident. Fucking, like, what the fuck? Don't fucking do that, bitch. Holy shit. I'm gonna have to pause this video when I upload it to just see what the fuck that was, because I barely saw it. Like, it was on screen enough for me to register what it was, obviously, but, like, I didn't fucking see what it was. Gail smiled apologetically and gave her sister a there, satisfied sort of look, although from Tabby's expression she was evidently not satisfied. She mercifully did not press the issue and went back to her phone. So, what about you, Gail? What do you do? This opportunity to move the focus away from me. Oh, me? I'm not that interesting, to be honest. Just finished my first full year as a registered nurse. Seriously? But that's a stressful time. Oh, it was, but finally getting out of university and being able to work with patients is so satisfying. Long hours, but I feel like I'm making a difference, you know? What about you, Stefan? Me, more than a little uncomfortable. I work retail. What's wrong with that? Where do you work? I took a sip of my coffee. Well, the warmth and scent was inviting. I could never really get on with the taste. I only typically drink it when I needed to wake up. Glad the conversation had turned away from me. Turned out the conversation a little, glancing from one person to the other. Seemed nice enough, even Tabby stopped fiddling with her phone to observe, though she didn't say anything. With another sip, I tuned back into the conversation. What about you, Aaron? I was about to speak when the priest arrived with a tray carrying their drinks. Oh, thank you kindly. He beamed at the barista, flashing his pearly white teeth. No sooner had his cup been played before him than he took it up and sipped, eyes closed with a satisfied Oh, out of this spot, I'm a student, studying psychology. With a little bashful as he added. I like the little pieces of the oven to make some scratch. Neat, do you get to eat lots of pizzas then? Or deliver pizzas made Stefan's eyes light up. Well, sometimes we get pizzas that cancel the wrong order, but as much as I like pizza, even I have no limits. So I need to wash my figure. He gave me a sharp elbow to the ribs and a wink. Nearly choked on my coffee. Not that I wasn't flattered, but... What about you, Tabby? You in college? And answered pretty gulps of his coffee. This dude is like the TJ of this group, man. Wow. Yep. She said in a sullen voice, not even looking up. After a few seconds of elaborating, Stefan, Aaron, and myself all exchanging glances while Gail simply gave an embarrassed smile. We could at least try to be friendly. We're going to be traveling together for a couple of weeks. Tabby was utterly unmoved by the conversation, slumped down in her chair with her coffee untouched. I'm not here to be friends. I don't want to be here. You're the one obsessed with finding Mom. Just like that, as the freezing air of outside blew over us. Even Stefan's bouncy energy just vanished. Even if I felt like she was being a brat, she did remind us why we were going on an expedition. It wasn't a pleasure cruise. We were going to find the Aeron and her crew, or what was left of them. The sound of the door opened again shook us off from my private musings. Loud, clomping hooves on wood echoed through the room as a figure swept through the door. Holy moly! Stefan muttered in his breath, eyes wide with alarm. God damn! Aaron agreed, though his expression was decidedly more pleased. The equine who entered was huge, easily pushing 6.5 feet tall. His snappy-looking gear did little to conceal his powerful build. Held himself ramrod straight, moving with great casual grace towards with each hoofstep firing to my legs. Good evening. Were you the group waiting to board the Sylvia? Flesh was rich and deep as he gazed at us with eyes that felt like they could see right through us. His accent was odd. It was received pronunciation, very cut glass, yet there was an aspect to it I couldn't place. Middle Eastern, maybe? Again, my ability to spot accents was pretty crap, but everything about him, clothes, accent, even the way he held himself, screamed class, presence, and likely loaded as fuck. Oh, hello, you must be Sharif? Indeed, Sharif Abdi, I cannot fucking do that accent then. Holy shit, it will sound racist. Pleased to meet you all. I shall be in charge of the expedition. Would you care for... It's not like I'm approached by a school crush. I mean, if you need any more evidence. Coffee? I'm afraid not. I've come to collect you all. Sylvia's ready to board and we must not delay. His expression never changed, those piercing eyes sailing on the hair. His bashful look quickly changed when it settled one under his intense gaze. Without a word, Tabby pushed back from the table with a loud wooden squeak of chair legs on wood and started moving toward the door. Gale blinked, mouth open as though to call after her, but seemingly decided against it, simply watching her retreating back. That spelled incorrectly. Didn't even finish our coffee. Summoned the brace over to settle the bill. Quickly approached, hands clasped before him with a wide, friendly smile. Everything okay? Enjoy your coffees? Yeah, thanks. I recovered being stunned by Sharif's entrance and we all started digging in our pockets for cash. Here you go. Casually, Sharif slipped through notes from his coat pocket and handed them to the barista. Keep the change. We all gave him a mix of grateful and surprised looks, but he did not meet our eyes. Simply turned and strode toward the door, where Tabby was waiting, still glued to her phone. Thanks? Stefano racked, opening the door, backing out into the perishing cold. Tabby followed after, not even glancing back. He's pretty intense. He's pretty. Stuck up. He's pretty. Presumptuous. He's pretty. Together, our step fell into my left eye. Froze for a moment. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Do you have PTSD? Please not now. Twinge could either mean an annoying ache with the feeling of sand under my eyelid. That was the more likely outcome. The other was much less pleasant. Gah! I clamped shut in response to the pain. What's wrong? Gil sounded concerned, but I glanced around desperately for a restroom, spotted the signs of the toilets. I gave them "be right back" and quick walk towards them. I could sense their confusion and alarm, but I didn't care right now. Tears were already starting to stream from my eyes with the pain. Once I was in the bathroom, I fished in my jacket pocket for the bottles I kept on me at all times. Diclofenac and proxylmedicaine eye drops. In this instance, the diclofenac wouldn't be strong or fast-acting enough. I practiced hand, identified the correct bottle from touch alone, and pulled out the proxymedicaine. Like I'd done a million times before, I unscrewed the top and sat it on the rim of the sink, quickly washing my hands. Pain was unimaginable, like an eyeful of sand mixed with a red-hot knife in my eyeball. Hands were trembling now, my face aching from the instinctive scrunching of my face to shut my eye. My muzzle wet from tears. My eyes were in full-blown damage control, flooding themselves to flush out the irritants I believed was there. Taking the bottle, I tilted my head back, used my other hand to force my left eye open. With great difficulty and quickly squeezed. One drop, instantly a cooling, soothing wave of relief banished the worst of the agony. A second drop and the sandy feeling dissipated. Straight away my face hunched up, my muscles no longer instantly tried to keep my eyelids shut. As I hunched over the sip, my breath escaped in one long, heavy sigh. Kept my eye closed, I allowed the medicine to do its work. I screwed the lid back in the bottle and slipped it back in my pocket. What the heck was that about? What are those fucking medicines for? Leaning over the sink, a mix of tears and the drops leaked from my closed eye, running down my nose. Fuck, my face really hurt. That was a really bad one. Normally, these attacks tend to come on more gradually, giving me time to get the diclo drops in before it becomes excruciating, but every so often I get ones like this. Call them thunderclaps, like the headache. Ones my brother used to have. My GP had made it clear to me that proxy was for emergencies only, but overuse could further damage my eye. But with these thunderclaps, it could be useless for half an hour in unrelenting agony, waiting for the diclo to kick in. Besides, I was completely blind on my left eye. How much more damage could I do? The only reason I hadn't had the fucking thing removed was the idea of getting it cut out with surgery. Even now, primed with resentment, the idea of having my blind natural eye removed entirely filled with dread. With the pain gone, for now, I straightened up. Gazed at my reflection, I regarded my ruined eye. The milky white cataract was a constant reminder to others of my disfigurement, as if the scar wasn't enough. Garrett, you okay in there? Just a tap at the door. I sounded pretty concerned, remembering the way I dashed off. I must have looked a proper sight. Yeah, sorry. Quickly wiped my face and fixed my facial fluff. The door creaked open and I saw his worried eyes peeking around the side. You sure what happened? Soon I was okay, mostly opened the door and stepped inside. Stefan followed closely behind, also looking worried. My eye. Gave a hollow laugh in an attempt to lighten the situation. I get these painful attacks. That was a pretty bad one in my standards. I'm okay now, though. Pat on my pocket. Lots of odd jobs to keep me going. Aaron and Stefan exchanged looks before smiling and nodding. What kind of fucking illness? What kind of fucking attacks are these? Like, I guess it's like, oh, like I don't know. As long as you're sure, dude. Stefan brightened, though he still had a sympathetic look. Grunges both of them were now staring directly at my damaged eye. Tried to laugh it off. I turned my head to conceal it in a casual way as I could, taking my finger to cover it once again. Seriously, Mokad, I'm into Skagaz. The pair gave me a searching look, but they finally seemed to relax. Okay, if sure. Aaron placed a hand on my shoulder. You're up for we should get going, then. He and Stefan both stood aside on the pass, only to face an anxious-looking Gale. Oh, Garrett, are you alright? Really, I'm okay. Just giving her what I hope was a reassuring smile, I noticed she was holding my backpack and gloves. Honestly, it just happened. Something I live with. I didn't mean to scare you. I assured her, gratefully got my belongings from her. Gave me a smile and waited for me to put my gloves back on before handing me my pack. They're gonna throw up or something. The pack was on me on our way to the door. Sharif and Tabby were both waiting and looking pretty pissed. Where were you? Tabby was supposed to launch into a diatribe, but Gale cut her off. Enough, Tabby. The first time I saw Gale flash a genuinely angry look. Tabby went around to speak, but surprisingly, Gale's glare was enough to make her shut up. If we are all ready. Sharif didn't even try to hide the irritation in his voice. The flourish of his arm made all start tromping the stone in the direction of long-eared BN Harbor. For a while, I marched in awkward silence. The embers of camaraderie we had kindled during our coffees mostly snuffed out. I normally didn't mind walking in silence around others, but given the awkward tension in the air right now, I'd give anything to be in somewhere else. Prayed to God the voyage wouldn't be like this. My nerves very much jangled, my hand automatically reached for my smokes. I yanked a cig from the pack with my teeth and reached in my other pocket my lighter. As I flicked it and drew, I noticed Stefan was watching me intently. I flicked my lighter shut and patted my pocket with my smokes. Want one? No thank you, I was just looking at your lighter. Here's one eyebrow. Oh, what about it? Is it in Ellisorn? My smoke dropped in my mouth, very near slipping as I gave him a dumbfounded look. You know your stuff. I admitted, utterly amazed. He's so fucking cute. Just my astounded reaction. I collected when I was younger. Never had that one though, but I recognize it from my old catalogs. Smoker was raised by a more longing look. Can I see just for a sec? Looks like we'd fallen a good few feet behind the others. I guess it was good that Sharif and Tabby didn't bitch us rolling them back. Besides, I was more at ease talking to one person than five. Catching from the water and placing it into the hands of the stranger made me anxious. But then I saw he placed in his outstretched hand. He gave me a grateful smile and pulled up both his gloves and tucked them under his arms so we could inspect it more closely. Turned it over, running a single finger down the very faded, embossed designs on its face before flicking it open. Oh, may I? He looked there was more pleading one than of curiosity. I nodded, kind of taken aback by his fascination. When it sparked to life, first time naturally, he gazed into the flame with a look of awe. He actually stopped and tried for a moment, transfixed. I stopped too, watching him with a growing sense of bewilderment. I tenderly reached out and snapped the lid shut, stuffing the flame before pulling it from his hands. He blinked, seemingly stepping out of a trance. Sorry, it's just such a pretty lighter, well preserved and maintained too. Thanks, blame my grandpa. Got during the Second World War, never once failed him or refused a lot. Damn, it's some great condition, all things considered, but your grandpa had stories to tell. My tale, very much not by own will, because the sweat and mood brightens. It's kind of annoying that us canids or lupines had such obvious tales of our mood. Other people found it cute and endearing, even though we often couldn't help it. Well, I don't remember much about his stories, never really spoke about the war, except complain about how his squall kept stealing his spokes. He died when I was pretty young. I actually spawned my brother before I got it. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Still, it's awesome here at the Cemento. It's a little piece of history, you know? My tail swayed more vigorous and I grinned. Oddball he may be, but I liked him. Either Gale and Aaron had slowed intercept us or been taught walking faster than I thought. They were clustered with us, Gale and Aaron, a few steps ahead of while Stefan and I looked side by side. I was meaning to ask, Gale gave me a concerned look. Do you get those painful episodes with your eye often? I swallowed off all the pain in my chest. Again with the eye. Took another draw from my smoke, giving myself more to consider. Not awful, no. Usually isn't that bad, and I use my eye drops anyway, which typically sculpts it. Taking another long draw before adding. Cold weather makes it worse, so I'll run a shitload of eye drops with me. Oh, I'm glad it didn't look like a fun time, she said with sympathetic understatement. Must have been quite the action to do that to your face. Perhaps it was the presumptuous way of phrasing it, my growing impatience with the subject, whatever it was. My limbs tightened, my fur bristled, my short swaying tail paused and raised, curling upward. Before I could stop myself, my lip quivered, exposing a single fang while my chest vibrated with a soft growl. Aaron's tone was sympathetic, but I didn't care. I was shutting this shit down right now. Both Gale and Stefan shot him exasperated looks. A sharp, acrid scent of burnt lemons in my nostrils. A scent of fear and alarm. I mean, what I meant was it must have really hurt. Stefan and Gale gave him withering looks. Smooth save. And I thought Tabby was tactless. Scent and fame in my nose was joined by two others, similar but distinct ones. Gale and Stefan were clearly also alarmed by the reaction. Tipped my smoke glowed brightly as I inhaled deeply, closing my eyes and settling myself. Prickle of my neck first, settling on my lips, covering my fingers once again helped diffuse the fearful reaction from the others. As the anger subsided, guilt and shame took its place. My reaction was, in hindsight, over the top. I didn't really want to add to the awkwardness that had already marred our first impressions. Don't worry about it, I get that a lot. We each gave each other relieved looks. Still, I wanted more than anything to change the subject. Oh, Gail, did Tab mention we'll look for your mom? Well, very much to get off the top and beat someone else's wound would suffice. Oh, yes, our mom, Emma Waters. She's the ship's doctor. Main reason I decided to go to nursing, actually. Cool, did you ever mention Alex at all? Alexander Gobolev? He was shown with excitement. Oh yeah, Cook, isn't he? She told me stories about him. Quite a character. That's my bro. Stefan beamed widely. I was right. Fuck. No, that's us. We're Garrett, not God. Fucking hell. Ugh. I learned to cook room. I can't wait to introduce you. His goulash is to die for. Took a second to catch that last part. Introduce. Why? You still think they're alive? That's what my thoughts aloud. Of course, just wait till you meet Alex. He's the best storyteller and a cook. Oh man, once I made the best honey roasted. Aaron had a clear confusion when in my eyes. We both raised a brow. Gale, on the other hand, was listening intently, smiling on it along like he wasn't mad. Both of them knew that the Aaron had been missing for 2 years, right? The IRV Aaron. Okay, we're getting some info on this. An enormous Arctic research vessel tasked with studying Greenland glaciers. Ship that vanished without a trace 2 years ago. Holy fuck, again? The ship my older brother served aboard. Sharif's letter came out of the blue a few months ago after the search was called off. I remember my mom screaming, the first display of emotion she'd had in months. Sprinted down the stairs, alarmed to find her clutching a letter with tears in her eyes and an excited grin. Initially, I was skeptical. We'd received so many letters since the disappearance. Well-wishers mostly, but a shocking amount of hucksters offering psychic help or private search opportunities. But this one was different. Sharif actually loved one on board, and we recognized her from the news reports and interviews. But Sharif had failed to convince international search efforts to resume. Instead, he would be privately funding a voyage. He couldn't afford to fund it entirely, so he needed help. And so he made the offer that any family member who wanted to contribute to funding the search could participate if they chose. Mom obviously leapt at the chance. Despite misgivings and protests, she took out a substantial loan on top of the cost to get me here. One she'd be repaying for years to come. So wait, you guys, what were you bringing home? His voice shook me out of my thoughts. Bringing home probably had very different connotations to them, compared to me and likely Aaron too, judging by his expression. My brother Colin, he was a mechanic. Oh, funny you should say that. Tabby studied mechanics. Gail raised her voice a little loud enough for Tabby to hear a good few pieces ahead of us. Unsurprised that she didn't respond, leading Gail to get the back of her head a frustrated look. What about you, Aaron? My, sister Kara, she was the navigator. Mumbled, barely audible. His confusion was replaced with an extremely uncomfortable look. Oh, of course, Carrie Marsh. You look a lot like her, you know. Gail gave him a cheery smile, but I could see he was uncomfortable. The image of the Aaron's crew was seared in my mind. The weeks and months following the disappearance were filled with news reports and interviews with sobbing family members. Serious-looking BBC journalists, gargling ministers, and rescue workers, while photos of smiling, happy Aaron crew members are displayed. I remember the pretty young lap-behind navigator. Now it made sense why I recognized him when I first saw him. The resemblance was uncanny. Oh, you don't say. Yeah, she's very pretty. I can't wait to meet her. I bet she's a tale to tell. Mr. McQuench, and this time I avoided looking at Aaron. There was no mockery in her tone. She was serious. She thought they were still alive. When I felt the vibration in my pocket, I was grateful for a chance to momentarily tune out the conversation. Put my phone out, sent a new message. Hi, pet. You arrive okay? What the fuck? It was Mom. My history had 7 messages from her, all stuff I'd missed out into the somewhat unreliable signal out here, all some variation of, have you arrived yet, or are you on the plane? I typed back, I'm okay in Svalbard, talk to you later about the board ship, or slipped my phone back in my pocket. I need to remember to send her a message before we departed, while the Sylvia had satellite internet and phones we could use to contact the mainland, we've been worried about its unreliability. I wouldn't want to lose contact and have her worry. As I tuned back into the conversation, I realized we'd arrived at the harbor. Before us was the MV Sylvia. I knew it was chartered for just 8 of us, but for some reason I expected it to be bigger. Didn't look like much. A top deck and a main deck and presumably a lower deck. Looked more like a tourist ship than a search and rescue vessel. Still, I'd come this far, in for Penny. Waiting for us at the boarding ramp were 2 figures. A shark girl who was chatting highly with the other 2. Oh, okay. A deer boy and a tiger. Cool. How more fucking voices to do? Christ on a stick. She seemed more quite cheerful. Her voice carried over to us as we approached, light and enthusiastic. When she spotted us, she immediately grinned and waved, beckoning us. Then there was the tigress, who, upon her approach, gave us a piercing stare, not hostile as such, more analyzing. When she locked eyes with me, she gave me a searching look before cracking a small smile. Okay. And the final figure was a huge guy, a Servine who, while not as tall as Sharif, was much more muscular. His deep, booming voice echoed across the quiet dock as he laughed heartily at something June had said. Sharif stood ahead of our group with long strides and utter confidence in his form. He smoothly exited a hand at the shark girl, towering over her. Without missing a beat, she beamed and accepted his handshake, saying something I couldn't quite hear from my position. He turned, facing us all as our group arrived. The stag and tigress shuffled around as we formed a semicircle around Sharif and the shark lass. May I have your attention, please? Allow me to introduce myself. I am Sharif Abdi. I am responsible for the expedition's principal financer. We are all here for the same reason, to find our loved ones or their fate. There were a few uncertain glances amongst our group, a few looks of grim determination. Once you're all on board and settle in your cabins, we will review the itinerary and how our search will be conducted. This is June. She's the ship's liaison for the voyage, and will tend to your needs and answer your questions when the captain and the other bridge officers are unavailable. Hello everyone, pleased to meet you. Judith with a cheerful grin. I will meet you all at the lounge at 11:30 p.m. Please be punctual. Not waiting for a response, but he gave June a curt nod and strode up the ramp onto the deck before disappearing inside. Well, if you'll kindly follow me. She beckoned to us in our motley group. After a few mutual glances, we gathered our bags and cases and moved toward the boarding ramp. Paused at the foot of the ramp, drawing my cigarette again. Gazing up the ramp gave me a sudden bout of anxiety. This was it. Point of no return. With a final draw before flicking away the butt, I sighed and started my way up onto the Sylvia. As folks followed into the door to the ship's interior, June bobbed her head at each person making a mental head count. She turned to look back to me, then grinned and waved. Grinned stupidly and returned the wave. Bright, cheery expression just seemed to help melt away the knot of anxiety in my chest. At least until I felt a huge hand on my shoulder. Troshit u vas ni nedesku oganka? What the fuck? Oh, that's Russian, or some form of it. I turned and saw a wall that hadn't been there before. A wall wearing a warm winter jacket. Smiling, my eyes traveled upwards until I saw a stern-looking face gazing down at me. Both spoke with sound like a Russian accent. By Bovid standards, this guy was fucking gargantuan. My jaw flopped open a few times. I tried to get words out. Enough evening, Joseph. Finishing your rounds? She bounded out behind us. I cringed and I realized she'd been waving to this guy, not me. Yes, I just want to know if I could have a late. Never took his eyes off me. He didn't seem to try and intimidate me, and he just seemed very intense. And a guy his size doesn't need to try to be intimidating. Oh, of course, no problem. Some pocket produced my lighter. Somewhere on his vast bulk, he produced a rolled cigarette, but placed it between his lips and leaned out for me to light it. Shh. Oh, yes, of course. His nostrils flared as he inhaled. Tip of cigarette, blowing as it caught. Disposable. He inhaled and left out a massive cloud of smoke and concentration for the bitterly cold air. Mine broke. Won't get the chance to replace it for a while. Hand on my sleeve. Let's go. Sorry, I don't think I got your name. I'm Garrett. Pleased to meet you both. June Cavalry, just in case you missed it. And this is... Joseph Bolson. Automatically extended hand, which June shook with enthusiasm. When I offered, Joseph also accepted. I tried not to think about how his hand almost engulfed mine. Come on, now let's get you settled. You must be looking forward to taking the load off. Gave Joseph a light smile as June led me off toward the ship's superstructure. Don't mind him, Joseph is a sweetheart. A bit quiet but nice. Showed me through the doorway where the others had entered. I'm really happy I can do my Nick voice again. God, I love that. It's so fun to do. Immediately, I was hit with the comforting warmth of the ship's heated interior. An involuntary shudder went through me as if my body was expelling the chill from my bones. As she closed the door behind me, the soft whistling of the wind abruptly stopped and was replaced with soft piano music. We were in a lounge of some sort, a well-stocked bar complete with stools stood to one end with a comfy-looking sofa nestled against the outer wall. On the other side was a large dining room with a floor-to-ceiling windows, giving would-be diners a good view out of the front of the ship. This is the Explorers Club. Pretty neat, huh? Given the nature of this voyage, I'd almost expected a Spartan, gray and drab utilitarian ship. Guess Sharif realized that we're going to be searching the Arctic Ocean, might as well do it in style. I'll give you guys the full tour, but first you should get settled. The stairs are just on your left at the door there. She just took the keys from her pocket and handed it to me. Once you're off your stuff, Sharif wants everyone to gather back here. Go on, thanks. I was rather toothy smile before walking up the steps to the upper floor. Yeah, I imagine a shark would have a toothy fucking smile. God. Do, like, furry sharks have, like, multiple rows of teeth as well? Because that's just weird to think about. There was a buzz of chatter and excited conversations from the cabins I descended the stairs. The corridor for the cabins was a bit less swanky than upstairs. See the others through the open cabins, admiring their accommodations for the foreseeable future. A little over halfway down the corridor, I found the door to my cabin. Garrett Reed. Slid the key and unlocked it. First thing that struck me was the smell. Piney wood scent. The room seemed a bit bigger than it was, thanks to the light-painted walls. but the mahogany paneling along the separating wall gave it a touch of class. Had a dull bed all myself, too. Pretty sweet. In the corner by the door was a small sofa and a coffee table on which a teapot and cups were already placed. I suddenly realized I was gasping for a cuppa, maybe more than a cigarette even. Wouldn't call it high-class living, but for a ship cabin it was pretty nice. Better than a lot of hotel rooms I'd stayed in, certainly. With a relieved sigh, I slipped out my backpack and placed it in the bed. My back was matted and hot from my jacket and the weight of the pack. I'd been fine out in the cold, but now we were in a cozy environment. I was sweating up a storm. I gave myself a sniff. It's hard to shut my nose from a few years of smoking, but I detected the unpleasant scent of sweat. I wonder if it's time to have a shower. Hey Garrett, meeting starting. Of course not. Come on. Heavy sigh, hoping I could perhaps sit apart from the others until I could wash. I'm way back in the corridor, locking my cabin behind me. Pretty nice, huh? Not bad, actually. Wasn't really sure what to expect since this isn't exactly a holiday. At least we might be able to see some neat stuff during the research. Wildlife, maybe an aurora. I wouldn't count on seeing much. This time we'll probably get polar night. Polar night? Basically when the night lasts longer than 24 hours. Besides, this isn't a sightseeing tour. We're here for a reason. Sounds weird. And I have to bring my camera with me. Pang of irritation hit me at his whining. What do you think this was, a fucking holiday? Anyway, let's get going. I for one want to see what Sharif has to say for himself. Yeah, Sam. He was made her way up and back toward the lounge. As we entered, Jane was behind the bar but stocking some bottles. She gave us a cheeky grin as we passed. Sitting there by a sofa was Joseph. He had a cup of something dark, probably coffee, before him, and he was watching the gathering in the community conference room with interest. Everyone was gathered in the adjoining dining room. Seated around the large table, Sharif sat at the head. There was a smattering of conversation when we entered. Sharif watched it with an intense look, his fingers steepled before him. Even with his stony expression, I could sense the irritation from him. Took a free seat beside Donna at the top of the table on Sheriff's right. Gail sat on the other side of Donna. Who the fuck? What the fuck? Stefan sat beside Aaron, who gave him a courteous smile and nod. Now that we are all present, gave me Stefan and Gail pointed looks. Felt like a scolded student being given a talking to from a teacher. I am sure you are all curious about the specifics of this expedition. Most of all, the new information about the location of the Heron. It was so quiet I could swear I could hear my own heartbeat. As such, I will... One moment, Sharif. Eyes went to Gail. Why don't you introduce yourselves? I don't know anyone else here, but I've never met any of you before. I could tell Sharif's thoughts from his expression. He seemed to have a permanent look of irritated boredom. Before I could say anything, Rufus leaned forward under the table. Oh, okay. Good idea, I'll go first. Rufus Dixon, pleased to meet y'all. Oh, okay. So, I can just assume this guy is Southern. Rufus Dixon, pleased to meet y'all. My sister Hannah was the first officer. Wow, that fucking sucked. His baritone voice had a bit of a Southern U.S. drawl to it. Despite his size, he radiated warm friendliness. Pleased to meet you. Eyes went to the next person. Along with a smile, Aaron spoke softly, barely a mumble. Oh, I'm Aaron Marsh, Carrie, my big sister navigator. Stefan had been fidgeting more and more, finally burst. Come on, what's with the was? They're still out there. Eyes turned to him. Even Tabby stopped fiddling with her phone to stare at him. Sharif pinched the bridge with nothing of aspiration. Without skipping a beat, gazed from face to face as if daring anyone to contradict him. Stefan Gobelev and my big bro is alive, and I'm gonna bring him home. And there was only the soft sounds of June stuck in the record beer and the sounds that followed, and even that halted when June realized that clinking was drawing everyone's attention. Everyone now turned to Tabby, who was still staring at Stefan. When she sensed all eyes on her, she immediately leaned back in her seat with a disinterested expression. Yes, it's me, Tabby. Mom was the ship's doctor. This she turned to glare at Gail. And for the record, it's all Gail's idea. I don't want to be here, so the sooner this is over, the better. human could have killed. I'm guessing Gale regarded its introductions bit business. Well, I'm Gale. Gale Waters. Mom was... Never still during the impetuous look Tabby gave her. Is Dr. Emma Waters, as Tabby said, who is my sister in case it wasn't obvious. To stare at each other for a period of time I can only describe as, please God, kill me over the awkwardness does, for the tigress mercilessly cleared her throat. Drew everyone's attention. She wore a slightly smiling expression, arms folded, her piercing eyes moving over each speaker in turn. I'm Donna. Captain McGregor is my father. And assuming Sharif wasn't blowing smoke up our collective asses when we find Aaron, I will prove he was responsible for her disappearance. She shot Sharif a sharp look, and for her he looked utterly unmoved. In fact, he looked bored of anything. That was noticed. Everyone had their gazes to me. My skin burned and pulsed quick, and I hated being the center of attention. Sure, my face and my scarred eye was hard to see, as pointless as it was. I'm Garrett. Garrett Reid, pleased to meet you. Cringed the queer in my voice. My older brother was a mechanic. I saw Stefan and Gale shift uncomfortably as it said it was. Their sad expressions triggered a twinge of guilt, and I couldn't meet their eyes. The truth was, it's what I believed. It was a search, not a rescue. Now only Sharif remained. He remained silent, his hands still steeled before him as he stared at nothing in particular. Well? Very well, I am Professor Sharif Abdi. You may call me Sharif. And as my letter explained, I provided most of the funding for this expedition. Professor, what's your field? Anthropology. As for who I knew aboard, again my letter made it clear. Could you remind me? It was a while ago. Just when I saw a flicker of emotion to a stony expression. Professor Hagen. No way, you knew the guy... No, you knew the guy in charge? I will explain if you could be quiet for a moment. It's funny I want to say more, but a barrage of annoyed looks silenced him. Professor Hagen was my supervisor and PhD. He was a close friend. That is why I'm here. That is much I'm willing to say in the topic. Now, if we are all finished getting to know each other... Shot Gale, piercing lip, making her shift uncomfortably in her seat. No one else was interested in interrupting. I understand you all may be skeptical. Nearly 2 years worth of concerted search efforts for nothing. We have all put a great deal of money in this expedition. I assure you I plan the most efficient search pattern that will make the best use of our available time. How long will the search last then? Your letter didn't specify that. 2 weeks. Tabby audibly groaned. Great, on this Tubman we don't even get to sightsee. But the official search found that the area and radio is positioned miles away from this new search area. True. Radio contacts seemed normal at the time, but the GPS combined with... Wait a minute. Always turned to Stefan with an intense look in his eyes. Radio contact was not normal. They reported someone had been killed, and their instruments were raving strangely. I remember the recordings from the inquiry. The captain mentioned the crew was having discipline issues. So what? We've been over this. The Aaron's last known position was miles away from where it was supposed to be. It seems more likely they got lost or instruments failed than a mutiny. Aaron visibly seethed her insinuation while Rufus put his hands on the table, barely containing his anger. My sister would not allow mutiny. Not in a million years. There's no way Cal would have gotten them lost, I guarantee it. Mom mentioned something about... Everyone started raising voices at once, each protesting to the point where I couldn't make out what any one person was saying. Enough! Normally formal, quiet voice boomed out, startling everyone. He stood, hands placed flat on the table as he stared down at us. We all fell silent, even June, all the way over at the bar, frozen in the middle, placing a bottle on the shelf, seemingly afraid of clinking the glass. I am not here to relitigate the inquiry, and I don't care about blame. If you wish to repeat the same arguments for the last 2 years, do so in your own time, and do not waste mine. Is this acceptable? It wasn't a question so much as a dare. Sapphire blue eyes scanned each of us in turns that challenged us to speak up. Even Rufus, beefcake that he was, looked really uncomfortable under his unrelenting gaze. Excellent! Just like that, he sat back down, hands steepled once more as if nothing had happened. A few uncertain looks were exchanged across the table. As has been pointed out, they are for their last position. Many moths on their planned route and well off course relative to their previous reports. This, he wrote a large roll of paper from the bag beside him and rolled it out over the table. There's a map of the Arctic region with Svalbard near the bottom left. Along near the end was marked with a black cross, with a dotted line leading to the north, bringing it toward Greenland. Seen this so many times before, countless reconstructions, simulations, the path of the Aeron's voyage. But there was a second red dotted line and a series of red X marks with one large blue X. The explanation, the reason we're all here, is because Professor Hagen may have used a different route. The all exchanged confused looks. Different how? How do you know? Because he left behind an alternative itinerary about a second route for the expedition in case he hit multi-year ice. The Aeron was rated for first-year ice. What's the difference? First-year ice is less than a year old. Multi-year ice is potentially several years old. Multi-year is thicker than first year, enough that chips need to be rated specifically for it. It can be harder than concrete. More than enough to hold a haul. Hagen understood that if the chosen route was untenable, they'd require an alternative. However, the second route was completely irrelevant because an ice report suggests it would not be a problem. Why, you'll say... Fucking hell. Hey, y'all. Wait, you're saying they found some... God, why the fuck am I doing this? Christ. George, mate. What the fuck? What's happening? But, yo, mate. Wait, what? You're saying you found some note from Hagen saying, hey, if you don't find us where we're supposed to be, try hey? Am I supposed to believe that? Hagen left the itinerary with the University of Bergen's Jerkin Center for Climate Research as a routine procedure when planning the expedition. But that alone wouldn't be enough. The Aeron's last supported position was only a few miles off the alternative route. He topped a large blue X. It still sounds shaky. The inquiry said their GPS was faulty. They could have been lost. I'm not finished. The inquiry noted several odd GPS signals that placed the Aeron miles away from its supposed true position. These were assumed to be errors. But if you matched the aberrant coordinates... Singer tapped the red X's on the map, while peered closely at the red dotted line, and sure enough, the marks tracked almost perfectly along the red path. I believe the Aeron chose to use the second path for some reason. Might have been a last-minute change due to changing weather or ice. Or it was a cover story. Or it was a trick. This time was the true course all along. All eyes considered the possum. He had an intense look in his eyes. He stared at the chart. He finally looked up as his usual exuberance gone. Shriek gave him a withering look. Please don't jump to conclusions. Regardless, the summary is that we have a potential location to search. If you had this new information, why not bring it to the authorities? Why get us to fund this trip? I did! He hissed towards the ripple of anger beneath his otherwise cool exterior. The authorities did not feel it sufficient to organize a new search. This is my last option. Believe me, if I had the funds to fund this, that did not require expending. If I had the means to fund this that did not require expending so much of my own money, or yours, I'd have taken it. The vast majority of the funds for this trip was hiring the sonar apparatus you'll be using to help search the seabed once you arrive at our location. Your contributions help with chartering this vessel. But I believe I've said enough. We'll depart in an hour. If you're having second thoughts, now is the time. Be approximately 3 days before you reach the search area. While you are free to make use of the ship's facilities and hospitalities, please remember you were here for a reason. But now, are there any more questions? A stiff silence. I'm sure you scanned each of us with that piercing gaze. Very well, if you all don't mind, I need to discuss the journey with the captain. With that, he rolled up the chart, scooped up his notebook, and strode up the stairs leading to the upper deck. Glad to see we're all friends now. Tabby! Spider snarked. It did at least seem to drain some of the tension. Rufus stretched, loudly cracking his knuckles and popping his shoulders. Well, come this far, I'm in. Saw him from the air, and at least I can know for sure. Well, fine, we'll bring them home, you'll see. Evening, guys. So, I hate to bore you all, but I need to give you a safety brief before we do anything else. The requirement for your own safety, you get the gist. Her expression hardened from her usual sunny disposition as she began to explain to us the safety procedures and survival information. She gave a well-heard speech about the shift's muster points, procedure for emergencies, where to find fire extinguishers. But it's extremely important that you wear your personal flotation devices in the event of an emergency, and whenever you are instructed to do so by the crew. If you're on the Arctic Ocean, you could die in little as 1 minute. Find yourself in the water, you need to resist the urge to panic. Get your breathing under control and don't thrash about unnecessarily. You will have roughly 10 minutes to use swims to get yourself out of the water or into a still position where you are floating before hypothermia robs you of movement. After that, you have about an hour before you become unconscious from hypothermia. Provided you are wearing your PFD, you may have another hour before your heart stops from the cold. Every effort will be made to rescue if you fall overboard, so you must remember these rules to maximize your chance of surviving if you end up in the water. Or be clear. Such dire warnings, all the tension of before came rushing back. Swallowed nervously, gave a nod. Hadn't really sunk in just how dangerous this voyage could be. Everyone else, with the notable exception of Rufus, seemed to be equally discomforted, but everyone gave a nod or grunt of acknowledgement. Good. I'm sure you won't need this information, but it's important that you know. Well, I have your attention. Here's your handbook. Okay, all safety information I just told you. Guided to its facilities, rules. You get the picture. Breakfast is served at between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. Lunch is 12 noon till 11 to 1:30 p.m. And dinner is between 4:30 and 6 p.m. Any questions or concerns, I'm your woman. And just like that, our bright grin was back. I'm starving. I hope they have some decent chow. Chef is currently preparing a late supper. Please be patient. In the meantime, can I fix you folks a nightcap? Well, that has to be the best damn idea I've heard all day. Damn straight. Sounds like a plan. No thanks, although I wouldn't mind a snack. I haven't eaten since lunch. I'm pretty hungry too. I'll wait for something to eat. Joe and her at behind the bar, followed by Dana, Rufus, and Aaron. Soon she was expert preparing cocktails. She made a bit of a show of it too, quite the talented lass. Gail and Tabby took a seat in the sofas while Joseph had been sitting. Joseph's nowhere to be seen. I suppose being the bossoon might be pretty busy. Stefan had wandered over to the hatch that separated the bar area from the kitchen. Wasn't super tired right now, and having been told I had time to leave this ship before she departed, I found myself seriously considering leaving. But when I thought about how much money Mom had poured into this trip, my mind was racing. Maybe shedding a bit would help loosen me up. Still knew almost nothing about Dana or Rufus except who was on the Aaron they were related to. Aaron seemed a bit obvious, and I could already tell that it was a flirt. Seemed to be a decent sort, though. Still, I was by the open hatch of the kitchen watching the chef work. He was a weirdo, but friendly enough. Plus, I was fascinated by his apparent rock-solid conviction that the Aaron crew was alive. There was Gail and Tabby. Gail was lovely, but I couldn't wrap my head around her conviction, like Stefan, that the Aaron crew was still alive. Tabby was a bit of a brat. I didn't much like her, but based on what she'd said, she'd been dragged onto this voyage by Gail, despite seemingly accepting their mother was almost certainly dead. I could empathize with that, at least a little bit, I suppose. Who should this speak to? Stefan, Gail, and Tabby are go to the bar. Let's go to the bar. Okay, that's too many people. Stefan was watching through the open kitchen hatch, staring at something within. As I got closer, there was a flash of orange and a whoosh. Cool! As I got closer, I saw the chef working his magic on a wok full of soy chunks, filling it with a bright plume of flame. Stefan seemed mesmerized by it. I mean, it was pretty cool. My cooking skills amounted to stuffing whatever's in a pot and stewing living daylights out of it. Hi, how, Realized touching me jolted so much you think I'd tasered him. Yeah. Ugh. Stick 'em like me that. I nearly had a heart attack. Damn, man, so did I. Sorry, each other once we were bursting into laughter. You need to relax more. You need to wear a bell around your neck so you can't just sneak up on people. That wasn't sneaking. Come out with a loud snort, chuckling at my indignation. I found myself laughing, especially at the mental image of wearing a bell. Isn't it cool the way they can just do that, like flip stuff like that? It's pretty cool. I wonder if it's just showing off. Maybe. So what do you think? Of Sharif, I mean. What do you mean? You don't think it's a little convenient? He knows the leader of the expedition, claims he's a friend, and just when the official search dries up, suddenly finds a note from Hagen pointing out exactly where he is. Coincidence? I don't know. Come on, dude, do you believe everything you're told at face value? Mate, why would he lie? I don't know, but that doesn't mean he isn't. A frustrated look. Never mind, I'm too hungry to explain. As his point, stomach gave a loud growl. Alex always made the best goulash. What I would give for a bowl right now. Your brother the steward, yeah? Yet with him cooking, I can only imagine what amazing shad the crew got to eat. I must see drool on his lips. Sounds cool, but your mom and dad appreciate having a cook around. The bright smile on that big gaze melted away. They died when I was young. Stomach crunched, my own smile vanished. God damn. Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. No, it's fine. You didn't know. My bro raised me for most of my life, so we're really super close. I can cook a mean borscht because of him. Plus, he got me into lighters, too. Oh, we collected? Yeah, that's how I know about your Ellishorn. That's a pretty specific interest in what Mom is saying. And you don't even smoke, right? No, never did. Neither did Alex. I just find them fascinating. He was a strange one, but he seemed like a decent type. Although my curiosity is built up or I couldn't let my question anymore. I was meaning to ask, you don't mind of course, but why are you so convinced that they're alive? She was odd, not upset, more pensive. Have you ever heard of the Fiala expedition? Inwardly, I grimaced, bracing myself for a dose of crazy. No. It was a polar expedition to reach the North Pole that took place at the turn of the 20th century. It failed, though. The ship got crushed in ice. But despite that, the expedition lost only one crew member, despite being trapped in the ice for nearly 2 years. Can you imagine? 2 whole years with a turn-of-the-century ship in the Arctic? Now imagine what the crew of the Aran could survive with a modern ship, all of its supplies and technology. Diesel-powered generators, tinned food, survival equipment. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean she couldn't have sank, right? Give me a dirty look. You think a ship that size and that modern would just sink? Why not? You don't think modern ships sink all the time? The Aryan had a state-of-the-art emergency equipment. Didn't you pay any attention to the inquiry? It included detachable beacons with GPS. If they went down, something would have left behind to tell us. The fact they didn't means that whatever she is, the Aran is afloat. I would stake my life on it. Sure, but the death glare he gave me, I believed it. All right. My hands placatingly. Like, just trust me in this, okay? I've done my research. Believe me, the Aran went missing for a reason. Oh no. Professor Hagen isn't a climate scientist, he's an anthropologist. Why would he lead a mission to investigate glacial melting? It doesn't add up. I've done it. I've set him off. If he starts talking about the Jews, the Rockefellers, I am out of here. Look, I won't have a wander around. I'm not sure I'll be staying on board, so just want to get a feel for the place before I decide, you know? Oh. Yeah, of course, but hope you stay, you know? Nice, man. See you later. Give me a cheeky grin, waited, and then turned to stare at the kitchen hatch once more. God, when is dinner ready? The two sisters were sitting around the same round table, but with a hefty gap between them. Gail was nestled in the middle of the couch, while Tabby was a good couple feet apart from her. Shockingly, Tabby was futzing with her phone, while Gail was staring off at the bar, absently, clearly fuming. Gail's legs were crossed, her hoof bobbing up and down in clear agitation. Gingerly stepped closer. Gail didn't even notice me until I was almost standing directly in front of her. Garrett! I'm sorry, I was... no, I'm sorry, I didn't disturb you. She's far on the sofa. Don't be silly, sit. She brightened immediately, patting the seat next to her. I shimmied between the table and the sofa, popping down a respectful distance from Gale. I don't buy it, Garrett. I don't know, I wouldn't want to tell you what those horns. I don't have a spare eye anymore. With a chuckle, she stood close to me anyway, not quite touching, but certainly pretty close. So what did you make of Sharif's plan? Well, what he says is true, it's possible the official search missed them. But carefully keep an eye on her expression to gauge her reaction. That said, you have to agree that they could be. She took it ever so slightly. It was obvious where I was going with this, so I had to catch the chase. Garrett, you don't have to tell me how hopeless it sounds. Believe me, I think about it every day. But if I don't want to hope, then what? Mom is just gone, nothing to bury, nothing to mourn. Her expression was stoic, through a slight break in her voice. Her bright eyes flicked away from mine, unfocused. I could very much understand. Many days, weeks, months with Mom, watching her cycle between bawling, despair, and catatonia, gaining more than my fill of the grieving process. I mean, don't you want to know what happened to your brother? Very least, I know for sure one way or the other. Yes. She noticed my hesitation and paused a moment, looking into my eyes until I couldn't meet her gaze. You didn't get along with him, right? I continued to stare at the floor, hugging myself under the guise of folding my arms. Pit in my stomach worsened, and the prospect of just quitting this trip was ever more tempting. Before I could answer, Tabby cut in with this loud sigh. Leave him alone. Gail's face could have killed. I'd seen her angry during the meeting, but this was something else. I found myself shrinking back from her. Nobody asked you. Of course, just like you didn't ask if I want to come along in this fucking trip. Tabby. Her voice moved for a prickle. I could see her seething, but Tabby had cleared that enough. You think I don't care about Mom? You think I want to never see her again, not have a body to bury? And if you'll attempt to placate her, but clearly she'd been bottling stuff up for a while. What I don't want is to keep picking at this fucking wound for the rest of my life. Her feet glaring at Gale for the briefest moments. Scared they were going to start throwing punches. Thankfully, I think, she turned her heel and stormed out towards the cabins. Once again, they went frigid as all eyes followed Tabby and focused on us, but mainly Gale. Her eyes remained fixed on the door Tabby left through, gazing daggers and apparently oblivious to everyone else staring. Dire warnings to give him an icy death in the Arctic water sounded like a fantastic evening plan of leaving the situation. He had an awkward cough. No effect. I swear I could hear her teeth grinding. Gingerly reached out, terrified of Lee's fingers. Guile? I'm sorry, I she took a moment scanning the room, realizing she was at the center of attention. Sorry, everyone. It's been a stressful time. And turned back to what they were doing, and the smattering of chat started anew. Gil and I sat in awkward silence for a moment, her gaze locked on the table. She's not entirely wrong. Fuck. Her voice was quite almost a whisper. She still didn't look up at me, instead staring, unfocused. I didn't say she'd come with me. I was hoping to speak anything I wanted to say caught my throat. Really, what could I say to her? Tabby yourself said they'd had this argument many times. I just didn't want... I could swear I saw tears trying to form in her as her voice broke, and I fought the urge to reach out to her. I'm sorry, Gary, could you excuse me? I nodded numbly, and she stood, giving me an embarrassed smile before a quick walk to the door leading to the cabins. Shouting dim room when she left, and I felt a few gazes on me. Well, that could have gone better. Realizing I was sitting awkwardly alone, I rose as quietly and nonchalantly as I could, given I'd been a foot from grounds. Could have Zone 0. Hoped they were okay. Much as I wanted to go after her to check, this really wasn't my fight. And I had to chase the son of a bitch to the base, steal my pants back. Then the bastard threw them in the shower stall of the private and got them all soaked. So there I was at roll call, my pants plastered to my ass and legs, and I was the only one naked from the waist up. The rest of them were laughing. Don already had a pint of beer. Aaron had Cider, I think. Rufus also had a pint of beer, already 3/4 drained. Oh, hi, Martha, take a seat. Oh, Garrett, sure you missed some crazy shit Rufus got up to. The sergeant made me get down and give him 50, and as I got to 33, made a ripping noise and mime the splitting of something with his hands. Found myself mooning the entire squad. Donna and June burst into giggles while Aaron face palmed. Let me guess, I gave him more push-ups. 100, plus a lap around the boot, my ass showing. I admit the mental image was funny, kind of appealing. Joining the chuckling as June sidled along the bar toward me. Get you anything? We went at the bar, stocked with the gills with a variety of spirits. My stomach tightened, my smile faded a little. No thank you. I don't drink. Seriously, what kind of man are you? I bristled, not appreciating her implication. A man who doesn't drink. Shudder at Bear, no, she wasn't laughing. Nor for that matter were the others. Christ, it was a joke. Lighten up. Oh, hey, want anything else? I can have a good pina colada. Oh, my place. Well, I'll take a pint of that Norwegian beer. One Lurvik come right up. Much obliged. Have another pint, too. Alrighty. Now, Garrett, what was that commotion with two gut lies about? Is that pretty intense? He also seemed like top get pissed like that. Miller Iron's still at me a bit shaken. They had a disagreement whether the crew was still alive. We gathered that much. Well, I don't know what to say. I don't even know what I should say. It's really up to them to explain if they want. They look pretty upset. Might be a good idea to check on them. Leave them alone. Like Garrett said, if they wanted to explain, that's up to them. Besides, they're sisters. They'll figure it out on their own. I don't know. I hate it when ladies fight. Much rather hear them laugh and shout, you know. Oh, Rufus, you're a sweetheart. You think women don't fight or argue? No, I just hate it when they do. It feels wrong. Kind of a chauvinistic thing to say. Because I really am like a knight in that regard. You're thinking of chivalry. Although the difference is pretty academic. Aaron, June, and Dana and I exchanged baffled looks, but ended up smiling anyways. A sort of sweet sentiment, I think. So, Dana, Captain McGregor, was it Dad? She slid from her beer, audibly gulping before thumping the glass down and sighing. She drained almost half the thing in one go. Even Rufus, already having emptied his first glass, gave her a funny look. If his son was, why? Well, I was just curious about him. Kev told me a little stuff about him. What stuff? Well, good things. She liked him, so she was a good leader. Listen, carry the navigator. A tense look shot between me and Rufus. June's smile faded again as she poured the pint, seemingly bracing herself for another argument. Yeah. Yes? In other words, the one who was supposed to keep the air, not lost. Despite not being in physical contact, I could feel his body tense. Soft tapping against the bar stool at my ears. His paw was bouncing rapidly off it. It was an instinctual thing for Lapines, a stress and occasionally fear response to rapidly thump the ground with the paw. But the sound of grinding teeth was less stress, more fury. Turned, facing her fully with a murderous look in her eyes. Fuck are you suggesting? Oh, fuck no, we're not having this bullshit, calm down. What do you think I'm suggesting, rabbits? Finishing the word gave us all a moment of pause. Oh! Fuck you! Finishing the word gave us all a moment of pause. It rang as whether species wasn't taboo or anything, but her tone made it clear there was a lot more to it. You say that again! Hey guys, enough! His rich, deep voice and the way to his command, it was June who took us all by surprise. That is more than enough, Dana! The entire seemed taken aback. Just a sweethearted girl, June barked like a drill instructor. Fury etched in her face, she stared Dana down. I will pretend I did not hear that tone you just took. If you ever speak like that on the ship again, to crew or guest, I will inform the captain, and we will return to port and expel you from the ship. Do I make myself clear? There was silence in the room, even Aaron's foot had stopped thumping. Perfectly. Miss Rush remained stern, but she placed the beer in front of Dana. Before she had a chance to place Aaron Rufus' drink, Dana necked the drink the wrist of her jump for grabbing her new pint. Glanced to Aaron, me in his eyes, which were still glaring daggers at Dana. Word to say, I inquired if he was okay. He untensed, giving me a half-hearted smile and nodded before grabbing his own drink. With the mood very much ruined, I had no reason to sit there anymore. Gave Aaron, Rufus, and June a smile and excused myself. My nerves were jittery enough when I saw the clock of the bar, 12:18 a.m., just over 10 minutes before the ship departed. If I was going back out of this, now was the time to decide. Trying to conceal my shaking hands, I fished my pack of smokes out of my pocket and glanced within. A single white filter stared back. My last smoke. I felt a mild joke of panic. I couldn't ask this voice about the smoke, as good an excuse as any to. You should look for more cigarettes. We sell them here at the commissary. Duna obviously wanted me to give him my pack. She gave me a little smile, eyes twinkling. Ordinarily, I'd really know where to get smoke. My perfect excuse was now gone. Turned a strained grin and stalked out to the door of the deck. The bracing, chill wind hit it particularly hard after exiting the warm, cozy lounge. My nose was absolutely dry out in this weather. I wasn't looking forward to that. Remembered a moment how I told her I'd let her know my progress. Put up my phone, I typed, "On board the Sylvia. I'm okay, love you, talk to you tomorrow." Guess I could call, but I really wasn't in the mood for a conversation right now. At least I was here, safe and sound. Moved further up the deck, towards the bow. Slid the cigarette out of the box and took it between my lips. Brought the lighter up. Mother of a... Why of all time did it suddenly decide that now was the perfect time to stop working? Cocktail. Sounds of heavy hoofprints pronounced. Sophie's arrival. Before his greeting, at least I thought it was a greeting. I offered to smoke me before going back trying to let me smoke. I watched me with those piercing eyes, like to try to light up. And then just like that, it flicked into life. Not wanting to tempt fate to drill my smoke and felt its warmth fill me up. With every sigh, I blew a thick cloud of smoke when I was able to close my eyes, allowing my muscles to loosen. The wailing of my addiction, indulged once again, quieted. Know a lot? Slept closer, laying the railing and gazing out at the port and the twinkling of the long European lights. No, thank you. I stood there in silence for a while, joined him in staring out towards the town. So calm and quiet, inviting. I should still have time if I ran to grab my pack. My mind bounced back and forth as I anxiously debated. You want to leave? Glancing at my nose, he was watching me intently. It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact. Taking a draw and turn, leaning my hips against the railing. Am I that obvious? Like an open book. Distinguished his awkward, his accent was pretty thick. Despite his size, his eyes held warmth, perhaps concern. Heavy sigh blew a thick cloud of split from my muzzle. Why the fuck am I here? My rhetorical question echoed around the deck as I made a gesture with my hand and indicated to Sylvia. This is pointless, we're not going to find them. Yet you came anyway. My mom wants me here. As far as I'm concerned, my brother can go fuck. I rose up in my throat as I cut my stitches before I could launch into a rant. Seriously, why was I saying this to a guy I met an hour ago, barely said 2 words to? Will seemed unmoved, watching me evenly with a sidelong glance before slowly turning, flicked back towards the lights of the town. We were quiet once more, but this time I got the impression he was deep in thought, considering what to say. The billowing mist from his nostrils suggested deep, slow, and even breaths came from my own shallow and slightly elevated breaths. Thinking about Connor has gotten me worked up again. I could feel my tail curling upwards slightly in agitation. You should leave. Surprised me, he spoke with certainty, glancing sidelong at me once more. Some pretty sure. The ship. He nodded slowly at his huge head back toward the ship's superstructure. Not good. Kumo to puzzle over his words, thinking I hadn't quite understood, or perhaps he'd spoken in Russian and I hadn't caught it. Not good. Da. He returned my baffled look with a blank expression as I never leave mine. Meinen what exactly? The way his gaze focused in distance. A few awkward moments passed without an answer. Well, go on, answer? For a few moments more, he was simultaneously pushed himself back upright and turning to face me, towering over me. Just no. Mr. is dangerous. Can't say more. There demanded better explanation with the sounds of boots drew my gaze toward the ship's main deck. There you are. He was quite acting towards us, waving brightly. Glad I found you, Garrett. The ship will be departing soon. I wonder if you're still okay. God damn, was that obvious to everyone? It was just a long, hard glare, dipping with her challenging on his cryptic warning, but the giant just stared back, completely nonplussed. Yeah, just took another draw, looking wistfully back at the town. Having second thoughts about the trip. I don't know why I need to be here. If you find something, I'll know about eventually when you return. I'm basically just a glorified tourist. Don't you want to be there if we do find something, though? I don't want to pry, but if you really want to leave, I'll ask the captain to wait till you disembarked. Really? Of course, sure he likes to play the boss, but you all put money into this just as he did. If the trip's delayed a few minutes, no one will care. Both watched me intently. Jim with a look of kindly concern. Joseph a more analytical look. It's difficult to discern their facial expressions. Casting looked back toward the town, its lights beckoning to me. Memories of Mum came floating back to me. Images of the miserable and inconsolable grief she endured. Of the almost manic delight she'd shown that fucking letter first arrived. A couple of weeks in a glorified tourist ship. If that's what it took. Took a final draw my cigarette over stubbing it out in the metal bulwark. Came all this way. Might as well see it through, right? It's the spirit. Just watched me with a curious look before simply nodding and looking back out towards town. What do you say we go inside? Dinner's ready. Don't want to miss out. I actually think I'd rather skip it. Put it on a little flop, thanks. Fair enough. Good night, sweet dreams. We walked together back in the lounge before parting ways to the doors leading to the cabins. This time, the entire time, gnawing at the back of my mind was the voice screaming that I should draw my bag and dash to the gangway. My stomach felt like it was going to empty itself all over the floor the entire way. The sense of building dread as my window of escape closed filled my thoughts the entire way back to my cabin. As soon as the door was closed, I locked it behind me and leaned my head against the cold wood. Losing my opportunity to leave was weighing heavily. Now I was in this for the long haul. The resentment bubbled inside me. I was taking potentially weeks out of my life to be a tourist on a search. The combined efforts of many ships, aircraft, and rescue organizations failed to turn up anything on. All for Connor. No, Mom asked me to do this, knowing for sure it was all important to her. I turned, quickly stripping off my winter clothing. The interior of the ship was slightly chilly once I was naked, which was how I liked it. It's a lot easier to sleep when it's slightly too cold, when you can wrap yourself in the cover. Then it was too hot. Matted fur is not fun when you already smell of tobacco. I snipped my arm. My sense of smell is not what it once was, but I still reeked of the stuff. I can't remind myself the many reasons to quit smoking, but when nerves hit, it was like being an autopilot. So I had to grab a quick shower. I was pretty pungent. Even ignoring the smoke, wearing thick winter clothes does work up a sweat. Grabbing my toiletries back from my pack, I headed into the small bathroom. Once sick and grateful to have a cabin myself, I didn't have to worry about someone barging in. The bathroom was tiny, just barely enough to fit the toilet, shower, and sink. Kind of a sharp contrast to the bedroom. Space was a premium on board a ship, I guess, and I imagine the tourists typically renting the ship would be spending most of their time taken in the Arctic. As soon as I flicked on the light, I saw a tall, skinny wolf staring at me in the mirror. Or at least one eye was. Tall and skinny, huh? I don't like how I'm being called out there. I looked like a freak. Among other reasons, I avoided relationships. Scars on my right wrist were something I always kept covered, even though they were on the sides of my wrist, rather than on the other side. Underside, I always worried people to confuse it with self-harm. It was a conversation I could absolutely do without. In fact, they were bite scars, only lead to more questions, and I was reminded particularly insufferable workmate at my last job who would not stop asking about my eye. Probably originally grow my hair to cover, even if it was technically against safety regs. My blind left eye stared Stared blankly, gray-white with a cataract, the scar running down my face and my left eye aligned almost perfectly in the middle. Livid, furless skin, scarred from the claw that robbed me of vision in that eye. And further down my muzzle, another scar. And unlike my eye, this one was always in my field of view. A constant reminder. Fuck! There stared me in my room and eye like a sharp knife was slicing into it, combined with the worst case of sandy eye imaginable. Closing knife over my bag. Tears poured uncontrollably from my face, scrunched up in response to the pain. My hand pulled out and tossed stuff within, slided around the floor as I strove for my proxy. My hand touched a small bottle as I brought it out. The white-colored eye drops bottle came into focus. With practiced ease, I tilted my head back, forced my open my eye with one hand, and squeezed several drops onto the scarred surface of my left eye. After 2 minutes, the drops took effect, and a cool, soothing sensation washed away the pain. The trigger for the pain was still a mystery. Doctors suggested anxiety, weather, even my smoking, but I knew the ultimate cause. Fuck! Son of a bitch. Move on about my bag. For the proxy Medicaine, I typically need it once every couple of weeks. I'd already needed to use it twice in a single day. I had a bunch of bottles to tie me over, but I felt a renewed pain of anxiety as I realized I would need to be careful. 2 weeks in this weather might drain my supplies quickly. With the pain gone, I was once again able to stare at the wreck gazing glumly back at me. Catching the scent of tobacco and sweat, I pulled a face. Couldn't put it off any longer. Stared at the bottle of shampoo from where I'd tossed aside hunting for my eye drops. Specially formulated for canines. Shower was kind of cramped, but at least everything looked pretty well maintained. As the hot water poured over me, I felt the filth of a long, sweaty trip and many smoke breaks slowed off me. My eyes closed in bliss. I worked the shampoo into my fur and built a lather. Moving my hand, I am going to be careful because I don't know if it's going to show him naked. I hope not, because that would be fucking stupid, but okay. Moving my hands through my fur, I worked throughout my body and my hair. Soothing warmth loosened my top muscles. I felt an aching at the base of my spine as my tail, which had been curled in agitation for God only knows how long at this point, finally sagged. Relaxed, and my body let go of the tension that had me so tightly wound up. Made sure to massage my tail, wincing at the chill-induced pins and needles reminded me just how extremely cold out here was to be. Canine and lupine tail movements were largely instinctual and involuntary, except for when the canine was particularly disciplined or self-aware. Wondering how my tail came across the other side till now. Ran my hands along its length, wringing it like a wet towel, and once again wincing as the feeling came back. For us lupines, and canines for that matter, tail movements were often misinterpreted by others. Elf giving you the stink eye? Well, his tail must be wagging so obviously. He must secretly be happy. But it wasn't that simple. For ferals, tail wagging was simply a sign of happiness, but for us sentients, it could be the result of elevated mood, even if the mood was negative. Images of my dad and brother came rushing back. I heard them squaring off, tails swaying, even though any sane person could tell the atmosphere was anything but happy or amicable. The movie series Ryan Gollum featured the suave, sophisticated Timberwolf protagonist, a British M16 agent frequently tasked with saving the free world from cartoonish villains. One particular trait was his ability to suppress and fake his typical lupine tails. Tail movements, snarl, ear reflex, and fur breasts in order to appear unflappable and cool, but can come in any circumstance. Like many lupines and canines, I've idolized him and tried to emulate his behavior. I mean, who could resist a movie hero and his unflappably cool persona? Someone who could effortlessly control their typically involuntary outward tells. Of course, it was all theater. While every canine and lupine knew there were aspects of their physiology they could somewhat control, it was a pseudoscience. At the end of the day, we couldn't resist our deepest impulses. So by working my fur began to slough off me, carrying with it the grime and filth of a very long and arduous journey. The stench of tobacco rose on me. Christ, do I really smell like this to others? Washes of the scent was no longer detectable, which took long a night to admit. Stepping out, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror with bedraggled fur, briefly distracted from my scarring. Pulled on a towel warm straight from the rack and began to dry myself. She's only 112 and it's 91 degrees out. Fucking Christ. My mixed sins with the strip being quickly apparent under a wave of fatigue. It had been a very long trip here. Finished off my evening routine by brushing my teeth and giving myself one final dose of eye drops for the night. I really didn't want to wake up to searing pain. As I re-entered what would be my bedroom for the next few weeks, the freshly made bed looked so inviting. My bag was still sitting on my bed. I rummaged around for my phone charging cable. Fortunately, I had remembered to bring a region adapter for the power socket. June mentioned breakfast at 8:30. I decided to set my alarm for 8 a.m. just to get me time to get my shit together. I wasn't a morning person. Pulled back the cover and half collapsed into the slightly chilly sheets. Brief thoughts were laid before us flickered through my mind before the sudden overwhelming exhaustion hit me. Not a 9 minutes, I was out like a light. Oh boy, nightmare sequence? Nightmare sequence? Doom sequence? Oh boy, it's gonna be a nightmare sequence. I don't remember much from my dream. They tend to be bizarre and utterly nonsensical, with a disconcerting number of them involving me being at college again. With having skipped so many classes, there was no chance that I'd pass my exam. That's a pretty common dream. Which didn't really make sense, as I was a pretty good student. My brain had ways of finding new and even more ingenious ways of tormenting me, though. I slept lightly, drifting in and out of restless sleep. I didn't sleep well in new places, which was hardly unusual, but the gentle sway of the ship in the water and the low hum of the engines added an extra alien quality. That knot in my stomach lingered. Part of me cursed me for not demanding we turn back and let me off, but that would be imposition of everyone else. I awoke fully, turning in bed. It was pleasantly cool enough that I pulled the covers a little higher. It was absolute pitch black, though, and not even the dimmest moonlight came through the windows. As alien as it was, there was also a tranquil quality. Out here, for the next 2 days at least, I was at complete liberty. No work, no obligations. Realization helped loosen that knot in my stomach a little, and I lifted my belly, nuzzling into the plump, cool pillow. Oh, a scream. I'm not screaming like that, because that's like a fucking, like, help me scream. Like, I don't want to scare people, so no. The sharp female scream sent a jolt through my body. My eyes snapped fully open, for all the good they would do in the inky blackness. My ears pricked up, the fur on my neck spiked as I strained to hear. Couldn't have been real, right? Instinctually, I reach over to the bedside light. My hand swats at the wall, fumbling in the dark until I find the switch. Nothing happened. Click, click, click. The fuck's up with the lights? I pull myself up and try to disentangle my legs from the duvet. Somehow, my attempts to kick them off only makes it to wrap around my paws. Get the fuck off! And then free myself and start on my feet, suddenly realizing that I now had no idea where the door was. My lupine eyes were adjusting slowly. The vague outline of objects started to coalesce. Stumbled the door, arms outstretched. Just in case. I could already hear a commotion in the hallway as my hand fumbled for the door lock. The corridor was just as dark. The ship must have had a power failure. Oh. So it was a high school girl moment, I see. Which, being a ship at sea, very much did not bode well. Who's there? Who screamed? Stefan? Saw the vague outline of the possum was already groping blindly in the dark. I guess my vision was as good as his. Garrett, where are you? I can't see a goddamn thing. Guys, it was Tabby. I heard her screaming. What in God's name is happening? Before I was caught in frustration, even with my night vision, I could only barely see where they were. Rufus to your right, the cabin door's right there. I shouted to grab Stefan's hand errands and tugged them toward the big stab before they hurt themselves. Loud thump sound from the door as Rufus hammered with a meaty fist. Tabby! Gail, y'all okay? We clustered around the door, sending burning lemons of it on my nose. I couldn't blame them for being scared, though. That scream had chilled my very blood. They strum my ears like I hear quiet voices, Gil's and Tabby's, one hysterical and raised, they're soothing and soft. It's okay, Rufus, everything's fine, just didn't expect the lights to go out. Didn't sound like everything's okay, y'all sure you're fine? Yes, just give me a minute, okay? Let me get decent. For more movement from the room, just before a surge of humming rose in volume until... Oh! Oh, okay. Hi. Really? Oh, he's fucking... he's gay as fuck. Wow, boy. Really? You're wearing fucking, like, Speedo underwear? Yeah! Felt like someone shot lasers in my eyeballs, and judging by their reaction to others, they didn't fare much better from the sudden light. It took a few moments for a good eye to adjust, but the more it did, the more the other guys came into view, and... Well, goddamn. Dude, is this really the time? Say anything you like, bunny? Dude's wings and a beefcake off is spoiled. Oh boy. Beefcake. We were giving peace of our minds. The sound of the cabin door opened. Clicking open before pulled our attention. I'm so sorry. I hope we didn't scare you guys. Oh. Well, aren't you fellas a sight for sore eyes? I know, right? Even Stefan and Rufus looked a little smug. Feel the heat rise in my cheeks. My usually just got from strong body was slightly opposite way. They proving looks from Gale and Aaron. You all sleep well in your undies? I sleep naked, but I figure y'all would want to see my bits flop around in emergency. Oh, you figure wrong. Jesus Christ, can you focus for 1 second? Gale, what happened? Tabby sounded really scared. Oh, right, well... Trailed off at the sound of frantic footsteps hammering down the stairs on the deck. A moment later, June skidded into view looking harried. I'm so sorry, is everyone okay? Breathing heavily, clearly having sprinted here. Thought that 4 guys were sitting here in our keks. What the fuck? Keks? Didn't seem to faze her. Just relax. June, relax, everything's fine. Tabby just got scared is all. Oh, I heard the scream. Let's back up the cabin over a moment. She has nyctophobia. Quick sigh of realization with her revealing how pitch black it had been if lights suddenly failed. That would explain her panicking. Rufus, on the other hand, looked confused. Nycto, what now? I'm sorry, that ain't contagious, is it? 5 pairs of eyes glared at him in a combination of amazement and judgment. Hey, what's the deal? Did I say something wrong? Nyctophobia. It means fear of the dark. Rufus looking confused and turned to it, look of deep regret. Oh, I'm really sorry, Gale. Didn't mean nothing by it. Be sorry. Don't be silly, Rufus. No offense taken. I appreciate you boys coming to check on us, really. But now I really need to tap with you. If you could just bear with us, I'm really sorry for alarming you all. Gale, if it helps, you have some battery-powered electric lanterns. They last ages in adjustable brightness. Those could help if the lights went out again. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much, June. Oh, what exactly happened? We have a power cut? Oh, I'm so sorry. Sharif and the captain wanted to test new solar equipment, but a trip to the light circuit, well, you know. Stefan looked like he was going to say something, but June clapped her hand and interjected. I'll come by your cabin about 10 minutes with the lantern, Gale. I just need to update the captain first. So just bear with me a bit, okay? And for the rest of you, I'm really sorry. I'll make sure the captain knows not to retry the test, but the power system prepared, okay? Rufus and Aaron both gave nods and grunts of approval while Stefan seemed to be staring up at something on the ceiling. June gave a little wave before trotting back toward the stairs and disappeared up toward the main decks. Okay, fellas, as much as I can enjoy the view a little more, my little sis needs me. But seriously, thank you. She gave us a grateful smile, a small wave, and slipped back into her cabin, lying there behind her. There, left alone, I felt pretty exposed. Everyone's pretty much skinned with hungry eyes, as though committing the sight to memory. Well, boys, don't know about you, but I'm bushed. Gonna hit the hay now. Oh, so soon? Stefano was still staring at the ceiling. Now I no traces of gaze on what I was interested in. So why didn't the emergency lights kick in? Nice sounds he's focused on. A light marked with red tape that was not currently lit. Oh, sir, that's a real good question. I ain't an expert, but they aren't supposed to switch on when lights fall. Exactly, so why didn't they? Engine never stopped working, so the power didn't go out completely. The air thickened as we each pondered their ramifications. There's an too tired to ponder this, but if y'all want to wait some more, we can wing this up with the captain. Both Aaron and Stefan out in agreement. Made a mental note to us over with Joseph. We seemed to have something rapport, best I could tell, and as both soon, he'd be the one of the best people to ask about it. Plus, this ship, not good. Just know, this trip is dangerous. Can't say more. Trying to think there was a lot more of that warning. Alright, fellas, see you in the morning, alright? Yeah, sure. Stefan continued to gaze at the emergency light, seemingly lost the thought before Rufus placed a huge hand on his shoulder and steered him back toward his cabin. You don't get it? Not. Beds in my room were still out at this time, because they were still turned off. Staring at my bed in the evening was drama after killing my sleepiness. Even knowing that, wow, I tapped scream, it still sort of shirt my spine to think about it. Now the question Sylvia's mercy light's not working with a lot of questions. Moved over to bed before slowly climbing back on the duvet, my thin coat of fur not totally protected me from the chill. Reached out to switch the main room lights and flicked them. Even as I was plunged back into darkness, mine was still racing. Usually finish at the time, 2:14, but not my stomach was there, sitting heavily as my thoughts raced. Now every tilt and sway of the ship beneath me, every stray noise caught my attention. With a deep breath, I closed my eyes and tried to push the events in my mind. I could deal with this in the morning. For now, I just needed to rest. Oh, okay. Thank you for playing. I hope you've enjoyed this far. If so, please consider Patreon, and there it is, if you want to give money. Getting as good as we possibly can. Also, I love any feedback, bug reports, and typos. You can find us on Twitter. Character sprites and CGs are done by the wonderful Nerton W on Twitter. After this demo, I plan on taking a short holiday from writing, as this took a great deal of time and mental energy, but I will be back and prepared and eager to start day 2. See ya. Well, okay, so I find it really weird that, this is Stefan here. Or is it his brother? I don't know. But the fact that it's either Stefan or his brother is weird to me, because that's not us. So, why? Why is this the way it is? Anyway, thoughts on this first build, this demo. So right off the bat, I have to say it's expertly, like, the art's great, the characters are all really well fleshed out, they all have like distinct personalities. You're able to tell them apart. What I'm trying to say. The writing's actually pretty decent. I did notice a few typos here or there, but like, other than that, it was pretty good. Like, I'm actually kind of invested in this now. Didn't really have any of the horror stuff yet, although there was some brief glimpses of the horror stuff, I will admit, but it wasn't anything like major, which I guess makes sense. I like it that way. If with the horror, like any media that contains horror, you want to build up to the scares. You want to like build a sense of tension and dread before you start hitting people with the scares, you know? So, you know, that's why Echo worked so well. Because you had, like, the entire first 2 days, up like Saturday and Sunday, to just, like, get accustomed to this world and the characters and get used to them. And, like, examine the relations between the characters as well. Because they're childhood friends, you know? So, and also in Echo, you still, even in those first 2 days, you still have the hint that something's not quite right. That there's something bad going on with the dream sequences. And that's how you do it. You build tension. You add minor little, like, scary things here and there. Anyway, This demo was definitely doing that in spades. It was definitely using the power of extended like build up, because there's really been nothing genuinely scary or anything actually dangerous for the characters happening so far. It's all been minor stuff, you know, like the lights going out and the scream like that. I thought there was gonna be like a murder or something, but no, it was just nyctophobia. She was afraid of the dark. So, also the beginning. What an absolutely amazing way to hook the reader immediately. Start out with like one of the people there, and you're playing the main character's brother for a short bit, which is definitely interesting, and all this like tension like around why does Garrett hate Connor so much? What happened there? Why? And why was their father and him arguing a lot? Like, all these mysteries being set up. Also, of course, the big one, where the fuck is the Aeron? And the crew, are they even alive? Why did they go missing? I fucking love this so far. It's genuinely captured my interest, and God, could you imagine that? That would be cool, but also really sad if they pulled a twist like that, where the main character ends up dying, and we play as Stefan then, because this gives me a serious like dread, because I don't know if this means we're gonna end up as him or something, or like it revolves around him somehow, or if it's just, you know, cool character art showing off your art skills. I don't know. Either way, it's cool. I'm really excited for the next update. So, yeah, that should say a lot. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This is a 2-hour and 6-minute video now. That's like, I think, the longest opening to a VN. Like, the longest first update to a VN I played, which is fucking awesome. I love that. Because, like, the fact that it was so long and so quality all the way throughout, that just amazes me. Because I remember when I was like, the first VN I ever played was Major Minor, and I have some very big misgivings about that one. That one sucks. That one genuinely is terrible. But that one was very limited in scale and scope. It like only had one sprite for every character. The background was just pictures that he found and put in the game. And the writing was just atrocious. And then I moved on from that to Repeat, and that was a major improvement, because like the different sprites, like the art was different, you know. And then of course I moved on to Echo, which was just a fucking leap in quality. Echo is seriously one of the best VNs I've ever played, and I stand by that full-heartedly. I still need to finish the Israel, but after that we're completely fucking done with it, which is so fucking sad. Anyway, I've been babbling on about stuff that isn't related to this game. See you guys next time.